the Ugandan president is the guest for this year's independence celebrations, and he's advised the opposition to accept the leadership of President Edgar Lungu and forge ahead. I know I am asking these questions. We know the history of the last elections held in Uganda. We know what is happening in Zambia. We know Uganda was associated in some way during the counting of votes and, of course, the preparations of our elections. What's up with you, Antonio?
Yeah, believe you me, it's an Independence Day, and I wouldn't want to be political.
Let's just get politics. It's sure it's...
But to be just fair, I think General Museveni is not the correct person to talk about politics in terms of democracy. I don't think so. I have very low esteem. I mean, in terms of politics, you know, Mr. Besigye, his main opposition rival, as we are speaking right now, he's under house arrest. Mr. Besigye, I spent 3 months in Uganda on a tour of African youth's involvement in politics, and I think the history of Uganda in terms of suppression of the press, in terms of suppression of the opposition, particularly Mr. Besigye, is not something that we would be proud of. He's been brutalized so many times. He's been beaten, jailed. As we are speaking, he's actually under house arrest, and is the major opposition political figure there. So the history of Uganda is quite checkered in terms of good governance, and I think I'll leave it there.
Right. Mr. Chanda?
Interesting question. I like the way you ask the question. It's like you have something that you really don't want to bring out.
No, that's why I say that
you're talking
Uganda was associated.
I'd rather you bring it out and then I answer you right.
I want you to give me the answer.
No, you see, it's so, how can I put it?
I get paid to ask.
Let me answer you, even though I think you've asked fearing to ask what you needed to ask.
My job is, I get paid to ask, so...
It's like it's under this curtain, behind the curtain. But let me answer it this way. I would not want to probably myself talk about politics in Uganda. Probably one might want to be talking about the decentralization system of Uganda and how good it is. But at the same time, of course, there are minuses and pluses there. When you ask me a question like that one, I would want to put it this way. I think that it is important whether you are a person that does wrong things or right things. When you need to speak and say the right thing, you say the right thing. For me, I believe that whether the opposition, and I don't want to mention one political party here, I'm with Antonio here from FDD. I think that whether you're from a political party that was unfairly treated or fairly treated, I think what is right as at now is whether we push and fight this and that, it will not help this country. Edgar Lungu has been sworn in, and I think what is important is to mend the relationships. I think that is what is key. See how we forge ahead as a country.
But my question,
see how he's talking about, I'm coming to you, he's talking about the opposition accepting Edgar Lungu as their president. And when you talk about the opposition, I don't think that Edith Nawakwi has refused to accept the results of the elections. And I think that is where, for me, you draw the difference. I have always given an example. Not that probably I don't like UPND, but I've given an example of Michael Chilufya Sata several times. When he lost elections, what was his reaction? When you go to even yourselves here, radio stations, they'll give you bites on occasions when was he interviewed after losing an election. Now, there are instances where he really felt the elections were stolen from him. And I believe that if you are a statesman, if you are a patriot, things have already been said and done. It's like you wanting a woman not to be pregnant when she's already 4 months pregnant. At the end of the day, what are you going to do about it? Unless you want to abort. But again, when you do that, there are consequences when you make an abortion. So what am I trying to say? I'm simply trying to say, unless you want to use a cake means to actually...
My question was based on what has happened in Uganda, how Uganda was associated in the elections, and the person advising the opposition? That is my question. Not really going back to which opposition leader. I mean, that's a topic for another day. Because if you want to go back to 2011, I mean, let me just finish my thought. You're going back to the person that accepted the election outcome and, of course, continued from day one with the rallies. Experts, Bright, we've been told that the same political environment that was granted then is not the same political environment that is granted now. I mean, we have the Public Order Act. We've seen what is happening. I mean, that's a topic for another day. I'm talking about the statement yesterday and the country that was associated with the elections last month.
That is what I'm telling you. That is what I was answering your question. You really want to put me in the corner. I was answering your question. In short, you're trying to say this is a guy that was associated with rigging and all that, but you're failing to mention.
We've read that.
Yes, you're failing to mention it. Come out and mention it. But I'll tell you this. At the end of the day, there is no documental or empirical evidence. He knows what I'm talking about. If there is evidence, then we can go in court and prove this to say this is what has happened. Or we can speak to the Zambians and show them that this is what has happened. If the courts of law cannot be, be as transparent as possible, you have the media, social media, print media, and electronic media that can bring out these, vices, even if nothing can be done. But the Zambians are the very people that will come out and judge whether this was done correctly or wrongly. You see, we are the people that judge at the end of everything. And I believe that there is a point when Zambians rise when they see that this is not correct. I believe I saw that in 2011 when they voted for Michael Sata. I believe I saw that when Chuluba came into power. Zambians are people that are very patient, but they're not to be cowed and be treated like fools. They understand issues. So to answer your question, Bwana, I think for me, let's just do the right thing. I've answered your question, but let's do the right thing. As a people, let's move forward. Because looking at this one did this one did that, no, he was associated with the rigging of elections. You're not helping the Zambians. You're not helping Zambia move forward.
I feel the question has been, the answer has been diverted, but thank you very much, Bright. We get to what we're discussing.
I really didn't want to come in on this one because every one of us here is afraid to talk politics on a day that we are supposed to be celebrating Zambia's 52 years of independence.
That is making me
no, it's fine. I mean, Zambia is a political country, if you like. We're a footballing nation. It's no longer the same. This time around, everything about Zambia's politics, we cannot run away from that fact. Antonio, you agree with me. There is no single day that you say something is not associated to politics, even on social media. That's just the situation. But the words that Museveni has used somewhat closer to the words that President Lungu used when he went to Uganda, and there were those insults that were held at the head of state back in 2015, is it, if I'm not mistaken. So you want to see the same words that the other person used in that country, the other one comes to use them in this particular country, and everything like that. And maybe that's the reason why this is coming, whether associated to the rigging or the name was coming, Uganda was coming in the picture. I mean, Zambia is our country at the end of the day. Even the way we are going to manage our affairs is going to be totally different. That's the reason why I don't even accept a situation where one would want to say, let the other person do what the other person did at that particular time. We react differently to situations.
I know you are the guys that are interviewing. Mr. Kotwane, can I ask you a question? It's a very simple one.
I've never been asked a question on my show.
Yeah, listen. Would you rather? Let me try to. Would you rather Museveni or even our own go to Uganda and say Ugandans must rise or Zambians must rise?
I should answer that question.
Yes.
No, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm paid to ask.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, you're right. Listen, now, as much as there should be diplomacy in whatever any head of state says, there should be diplomacy. But I think our job still, it still comes to ask, finding questions and answers in everything that is said. I mean, we cannot run away from. This is what is being discussed on social media. The advice given by the Ugandan president, I mean, he's already given his, I mean, what happened in Uganda after the elections, the held elections. We know the discussions, the politics. I mean, the UPND, of course, that's the main opposition party has said they're not going to accept. These are the questions. The answers are not yet given there. So if someone says, I mean, from Uganda says, accept the elections, and I mean, my first point of action is that let me call the people that refuse to accept the results and get their opinion on this matter.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on, Alexander. So that we reserve this. I want you to take note of this, Wupe, as well as Antonio. Take note of this. We have to create special time for this particular discussion so that we freely and openly talk politics. Today you seem to be independent enough to just